to join the millions of people that need it.
All right. Hey guys, I recently took this car on a road trip, about 450, 500 miles from St. Louis all the way down to Wichita for Christmas. Ran into a lot of rain and had to pack a bunch of presents. So this video is a quick video review of how this car fared on the road trip, and also of this guy, the Uniden R1, which I picked up on Black Friday for like 180 bucks. It was 180 bucks and it was on sale like 100 bucks off, and everybody said it was the greatest radar detector, or the best radar detector at the time. So how did the car do? Well, it did really well. I actually really enjoyed driving it. I usually get fatigued driving a couple hours out, and I'm not sure what it is, but the lumbar support, the bolsters, the seats on the 4 Series, the M Sport models have adjustable bolsters. So if you're a slim guy like myself, it hugs you, or you can adjust it to hug you a little bit more. And the lumbar support is really, I mean, the seats are really good in this car. And I drove all the way there and I drove all the way back without really getting too tired or needing stops or having to switch drivers with my wife. So that did incredibly well, and it fit all the luggage. I was able to get everything inside the trunk, and the lift back. So the power tailgate, power lift back, it can go into manual mode. So as soon as it detects resistance or you touching it, it'll kind of default to like manual mode. So that way you can actually push the hatch down, which is nice. So you know, some cars, they don't allow you to do that, as it will only do it automatically. And if it detects any resistance, it'll just automatically go back up. So that's pretty nice about it. Car averaged 28 miles per gallon on the way to Kansas, which is pretty good considering I was driving speed limit and driving pretty aggressively going to Kansas because I wanted to be there in time for all the celebrations. So yeah, considering the speed limit that I was going, and yeah, and the thing is, I always average less fuel economy going west from St. Louis, because I'm driving against the weather, against the wind. Even though I'm using higher octane, because St. Louis has 93 octane for premium, and Kansas only offers really 91, with the exception of like a handful of places. So yeah, so driving there, I averaged 28, like 28 and a half. And then driving back, I averaged over 31 miles per gallon. So that's pretty good. That's actually really good. Like I said, you know, and of course driving back, I got the wind helping me out. So so yeah, I would say average highway fuel economy of, yeah, like what, 29 and a half, which is pretty good for the entire trip. For the entire trip, not including city driving, I averaged like I think it was like 27 and a half, which is pretty awesome. I'm gonna shut this thing off. All right, so the car did really well. The car did admirably. How did the radar do? I traveled 1,000 miles with this radar detector. Is it as good as everybody says it is? So in Missouri, driving in Missouri, I caught everything. From where I live, it catches everything. good laser detection. It always gives me enough warning for me to prepare, even more warning for me to prepare in most cases. I have it on stock settings. I didn't change any of the bands, so just highway and city are the modes that I use it on. If I'm using it incorrectly, you guys can tell me, but yeah, just city and highway. The filtering is pretty good in the city. Before this radar detector, I did have a V1 in a previous vehicle, which I sold. And my one of my good friends has an Escort 360. So it performed well in Missouri. It's amazing. It performs really well. It only thing that is kind of annoying is driving close to like a new Acura Honda, because it picks those up all the time. Only thing is I can tell when I'm driving close to an Acura Honda, because it'll be steady 1 2 1 2 1 2, and it won't go past 3, which is nice. And as soon as I pass it, it goes away. So Honda Acura radar detection, or Honda and Acura false alerts, very common, annoying. Performance wise in Missouri, really good. However, and this is what kind of sucks. So crossing over to Kansas Highway Patrol must use a different radar system. I don't know what they use. I didn't do any research. And I passed by a dozen cops that I know are shooting radar, because they're sitting in the middle of both lanes and aiming on both sides of the highway. And nothing. The entire trip I actually didn't catch. I passed by, a dozen cops and nothing. No alerts. It's pretty disheartening, really disappointing. So if you live in Kansas, don't get this radar detector. It's gonna drive you crazy, because you're gonna want to throw it in the trash can, and you feel like you wasted money. So I guess the bright side is I live in Missouri, so it works well here. Well, you wonder how long. That's the thing about radar detectors isn't that they go obsolete quickly. Is that the performance is predicated on what radar systems they use, and whether or not they upgrade to something that your radar detector is optimized for. One of the reasons why I got rid of the V1 is like I had to, having to send it in for all the updates. It just sucks. And you have to pay for the update as well. So it's just constantly paying for something that may or may not save you. But the biggest way to not get caught, obviously speeding, would be to just be vigilant. I stay vigilant while I'm using my radar. So I look out for cops, and I look at the alerts and try to pick out whether or not it's a false alert or not. Because you can tell what's a false alert by the band frequency. Just look up what band frequencies are used. Like Hondas and Acuras, GM cars, grocery store radars, local radars, so on and so forth. So research, if you're in the market for this radar detector, research what the Kansas guys are currently using, because if that's a common system used in your state, you're gonna hate this system. You're gonna hate this radar. So that's my advice. That's how I feel about this radar detector. So I like it as a resident of Missouri, but if I'm driving in Kansas, I know it's gonna suck. So overall impressions, it's okay, right? It works really well for certain areas, obviously. So depending on where you live, it could be amazing. Depending on where you live, it could be atrocious. So yeah, final impressions. Car did really well. Car was great. Still love it. Still drives smooth. Red flats are loud. Car is a lot louder than my previous car, which is an Acura RL. More comfortable than the Acura RL. I think the leather is higher quality than the RL. Even though the RL is supposed to have the best leather of all Acuras, it was okay. So yeah, that's it. So that's all I gotta say. I'm done. Thanks for watching.